Hello, welcome to Subject to Change. I'm Jody Smits-Anderson, and I'm here with Lauren Stanek, my co-host. We're interviewing Roy Atkinson, Principal and CEO of Clifton Butterfield LLC. Marvelous guy, musician, fun. Pay attention.
I am so excited about this, by the way. There he is.
Hi.
She's just naturally excited. It's just the way that Jody is, just excited.
Yeah, I really haven't changed in the 30 years you've known me, Roy.
Yeah.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. When you see the little microphone in the lower right, click on that to learn more. We're so glad you're here.
So here's the way it works. Whatever she's told you about me, positive, true. Negative, not so much.
Well, my mother and I listened to your barge song earlier today.
Oh dear.
And we both got a huge kick out of it. I want to know why you referenced the Guns N' Roses posters being thrown out, though.
that time.
It fit.
Many facets of Roy: writer, speaker, musician.
There's a lot of connection between reading an audience and developing music with service and with IT being a vehicle for people to connect.
My business has basically 4 pillars. What we work, the areas that we work in are customer service, customer experience, employee experience, which is joined at the hip with customer experience, and what we call appropriate technology, meaning don't buy it if you don't need it. You may have power in the stuff that you own already that you're not using.
Let's talk about the shiny object.
That's really good. I think that part of that habit ties to the idea that people want an out-of-the-box quick fix, plug and play, whatever phrase you like to use, because that's what's been marketed so much over the last 20 or 30 years, that, hey, you don't have to worry about this. You just have to plug it in and it works. And the reality is that the best improvements in business and at the personal level and at the community level are going to take hundreds of iterations and small tweaks and a growth in knowledge and experience, and all of that is terrifying to a lot of people, right?
I think you're absolutely spot on. In IT, it's usually called the silver bullet, the shiny object. The classic story in IT is the CIO goes to a conference. On the plane, the CIO reads an industry magazine. In the magazine is some story about the latest, greatest, wonderful, most terrific thing. And CIO returns to the organization all fired up, and we're going to go buy this thing, and it's going to, and of course, everybody on the staff goes, oh God, here we go. Because they know it's not going to change things. And you know, I do these little 1, 2, 3 videos on LinkedIn every week. 1 minute.
You got to plug into those. Yeah.
1 minute and 23 seconds of
nice
information. Just, you know, little coaching tips and stuff like that for businesses. And the one I did this week is technology is not enough. It's technology tells you what you can do, right?
Yeah.
It's an enabler. It
perfect.
Doesn't tell you what you ought to do or what you have to do.
Over and over and over.
The classic example today, I call this organization, your wait time will be more than 10 minutes. Your wait time will be more than 10 minutes. After about the 4th time it told me my wait time was going to be more than 10 minutes, I'm saying, okay, these people are trying to do what most organizations, and I hate it, call deflecting the call.
Yeah,
they're trying to get me to go away, and I'm not going to go away. I'm on hold here and I have a question. So I waited and I waited and I waited, hearing this over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it was about 25 minutes or so into the call, somebody comes on, and I said, Okay. Gentleman comes on, identifies himself, asks me what I'm calling about. And I said, I'm calling about this particular thing. I have the information in front of me. What do you need to know? Dead air. Gone.
No.
The clock on my phone was still running, like the call was still connected, but nobody was there. And that is so typical of the kinds of things that happen in customer service. It is absolutely atrocious. And
customer service is an ox and a moron.
Yes, both of those things. Yes, it is an ox and a moron.
What are the metrics that matter?
It's like pay attention, your customers count, listen to what they have to tell you, pick up the phone once in a while, provide them easy access. The contact center world is fraught with metrics. It's just up to here with every measurement you can possibly imagine. And it's just absolutely frustrating that nothing seems to get better.
There are things that that happen in some of the work that I do, where people are very focused on reporting and metrics and getting the data. And the data, like, nobody ever sees what happens to that data. And that data doesn't seem to inform any kind of solutions building. So the fact is, it is actually creating solutions. People are using it well, but they're not being transparent about that with the people who produce the data. So the people who produce the data think they're doing something for no reason. And they're resentful of the data. The data doesn't feed their own work in any way. It's just something they have to do. So there's a piece of the softer side of customer service where you have to, even though you're doing good things with the data, if in fact you're doing good things with the data, you have to actually illustrate that in a way that people can see, so that they trust the whole process, so they're engaged.
Wait, trust?
So what exactly is dark data?
80% of the information points that are collected by organizations, meaning companies, is dark data. And that means nobody ever analyzes it.
Ooh.
Nobody ever does anything with it.
Why is it collected and then never used?
Oh, you see, you're asking questions that the companies never do.
Right.
How many surveys just go, and you might have a really, really intelligent comment on that survey, something that could save the company thousands or even more dollars? Who looked at it? Nobody.
This call may be recorded means every call.
Coaching is a really important thing for people who manage and supervise in contact centers to do with their staff, because the turnover in that industry is huge.
Yeah.
A lot of the people are newbies. They really don't know what they're doing. And a lot of companies don't have good knowledge management, so they're not getting the information they should have. There's some very innovative companies out there that I've worked with or talked to, and contact center managers and supervisors can allot about 7% of their time to coaching. You've got the ability for the software to coach. And so contact center reps or agents, whatever they're called in that particular company, can be there. They can be talking to a customer, and either on their screen or in their ear, it will say, several customers have had the same problem. You might want to look at this particular knowledge article, or you might want to say this, right?
How cool is that?
It's brilliant. What the managers are going to be looking at is, analytics of every sort, including predictive analytics. Well, what's the call volume going to be like tomorrow? Since we released this product today, what is that going to mean to our calls tomorrow? Do we have the proper knowledge distributed to our reps to be able to respond to questions about the new product? All of that stuff.
Convergence is key.
I gave a keynote yesterday for a company that's based in Israel. They have a global conference yesterday, and it was great.
Very cool.
I enjoyed it. But the keynote that I developed, I talked a lot about the convergence of different technologies.
Mhm.
And I talked about the Apollo program and some of the amazing technological things that happened with Apollo, a lot of which was based on a woman's work. Margaret Hamilton happened to have the same name as the woman who played the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, Margaret Hamilton, who used to come into one of the places that I played. But but Margaret Hamilton's team, and there were about 350 of them altogether, did amazing work in the realm of software, and they did stuff far in advance of the way that mainstream computing did it. Tiny jobs running in parallel, hard-coded read-only memory that avoided disaster on a number of occasions with Apollo, et cetera, et cetera. Very well worth reading up on her. There's a couple of articles in the Atlantic recently about Apollo, some great stuff. But that's one of the types of things that I talked about. And going back to that idea that technology is not enough. When you take some different areas that you want to look at and you start putting them together, that's where innovation comes from, right?
Right.
Innovation is the taking of two different things and putting them together.
Some impressive changes.
I've been particularly impressed by a couple of changes that I've noticed in the way that companies deal with it. So first of all, I have a Google Pixel for a phone, and I've noticed that Google notices when I'm on hold, and it'll say, do you want your assistant to hold for you? And I can walk away, and when the call is connected, the phone will let me know. It will ring me back. I seem to be on the phone with Verizon a lot, and they do a thing where if the hold time is going to be more than a minute or two, you're just asked, do you want to schedule an appointment? Instead, we'll schedule a call back with you. I'm much nicer to the, well, I'd like to think I'm nice all the time, but I'm much nicer to the people when I say, when I know, okay, this is the call time, I just need to be prepared for that. And I'm not on the phone for 25 minutes and then disconnected and then have to reconnect. So that's like point one. Then point two being, so then how else might they, are other companies starting to incorporate that type of software? And then also this AI to then continue to improve the responses.
The answer to a lot of that is yes.
Okay.
There are several companies that I've done a little work with over the last few years that specialize in doing that callback service.
Yeah.
That's a software tool that plugs into the contact center and says, oh, okay, set your threshold. If people are going to be on hold longer than X, then you offer them an opportunity for a callback, and then it records their number and verifies it and then calls them back. That is a huge advance. Your notation of that feature in your Google phone is an illustration of what Google refers to as the creepy line.
It is, but I still appreciate it.
It's Google, Eric Schmidt said, we want to go right up to the creepy line, but not cross it.
So wait, why did you hire them?
What's your creepy line as far as data? Is there stuff that we shouldn't be tracking? And we know that if we shouldn't be, somebody is somewhere. But as far as you feel, is there anything that's concerning to you right now in the data collection sphere?
When the pandemic first hit, miracles were worked in the IT world.
Oh my God, yeah.
Totally.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I was reading some of the stories that came out of that after the fact. And one of them is about a company that installed, and I'm not kidding, it's a software tool called Sneak. And Sneak takes a picture through your webcam every 3 minutes or something like that.
Make sure people are working.
And not only does it take the picture, it posts the picture to a screen. You know how you get on a Zoom call and there's the tile. It's that, like in a conference room or in one of the boss's offices or something else, so that there's a visual of what's going on with everybody threat. That's creepy.
That is
That's
creepy.
insanely creepy. And my question is, if you have that level of distrust of the people who are working for you, why did you hire them?
Yeah.
Right.
Employee satisfaction.
Yeah, this gets back to the four pillars that you work on. What intrigued me about the four pillars is you talked about customer service, and you also talked about the employee satisfaction and the employee support, which I caught on, because if you have engaged, participatory, trusted employees, they're going to be better able to serve the customers. Absolutely. So that's what you just described as an indication of not having that trust level.
The ones that get it are making big strides, and there's there's lots of information out there about this. Gallup does this huge study on employee engagement, and the numbers are staggering, and I can't quote them because they're very strict about how you use their stuff, but I can tell you that there are 12 different areas that they're looking at, everything from absenteeism to profit margins. And the differences between an engaged workforce and a non-engaged workforce is absolutely staggering. Here's an illustration going back to the trust that that either develops or doesn't, is that yes, absenteeism is going to go down because people want to come to work, and they're going to not ask for days off when they don't need them. But the flip side of that is that when you have a high level of trust between the organization and the employees, when they do need time off, they are going to ask for it.
Yeah, right.
Which is a much healthier environment all around, right? If you are a business leader and if you look at that stuff and you don't get it, I can't even. I can't even.
We all need a little AI.
So I actually want to ask a question about scale, and I think it's because I'm asking it mostly because Lauren has a smaller business.
Yeah.
What kind of in reaching for jobs and putting out proposals, and I'm making some assumptions here, Lauren, correct me if I'm way off base. There's got to be a customer relationship built there, even though it's not on a scale of hundreds of customers, it's on the scale of tens of customers, probably. And also, what kind of data, what kind of information from the interactions could help to build a small business? Do you also look at that smaller scale in the work that you do, Roy?
So I honestly would love a little AI that could help me vet all of this stuff, because the reality is, the reality is that, so Roy was talking about even just software selections. You see the bright, shiny object. And so, Roy, to give you some context, I'm a party of one. I have my company. It's me. I am the everything, right? So I have to be all of the components that go into a company. Even going through the process of just vetting the technology that I feel I need is one of the most critical things, because there's so many different programs out there that I have so many questions. You can look at the side-by-side reviews and the tech articles and everything about which one's better. But the reality is that until I talk to a person who actually knows the difference, I don't know what I want, and I get overwhelmed. And so I sit and I suffer and I make do with, Excel when I should be using QuickBooks or something. I mean, I use QuickBooks, but it doesn't matter. You get the illustration. And then from there, even going in and looking at timesheets, I keep active timesheets for myself, hoping to extract data from them so that I can give better, more tight, more realistic proposals as I move forward. But at the time at which I'm writing a proposal at 10 o'clock at night, I'm not going back to look at what I did. It's just, time is just beyond precious. So I see a lot of ways that for a small business, things could be done far more efficiently, even with just a single person. but I wouldn't even know where to begin with that.
You have automation?
Are you using any automation?
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay.
What would that look like?
It's a good answer.
What would that look like?
Well, automation, as we know, is simply creating a set of repeatable steps that can run without human intervention. That's automation, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, there are some tools in the world of, let's say, marketing that can automate some of the things that you do to either from the simplest end to create reminders for you, to recording some of the information for you. And speaking of recording, I use AI to look through conversations. I have a tool on my phone which is called Otter. Otter.ai is the website. And I started using Otter doing podcasts, and my company asked me to produce written versions of the podcasts.
Okay.
Well, that's really tedious to sit there and transcribe. It was hard. So I said, well, let's get a transcription tool. And I asked for some recommendations, and some people pointed me to Otter. I put it down and next to the computer, and it very nicely transcribes an entire conversation. It identifies the breaks where the different speakers come in and all that stuff. And it was primarily designed to record meetings. And you can put who's in the meeting and all that stuff. There's your whole transcript. I turned somebody else onto it who does meeting minutes for a town council. They're using it for that now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that's out there. There's HubSpot, which can get you to do some marketing automation.
That would be really handy.
And the nice thing for a small to medium business is that there might be some business advisory firms out there that help people with stuff like that. I think there might be.
There might be.
It is conceivable that there are some advisory firms. So it's the kind of thing that we do, and I'm not
that's great
selling it to you, but
I need it, so it's sold. I was sold when you're like, there's ways to do this before. I'm like, note to self.
Really?
Don't forget who your customer is.
I think it's really important to understand that customer service is not limited to one size of an organization, but is a skill set that applies to every size of organization and every type of organization, because there isn't an endeavor that doesn't have a customer or a client. I mean, every interaction is somebody producing and somebody receiving, and there is some relationship there. Sometimes we think of client or customer as purely a monetary exchange, but it's a relationship just like almost any other relationship.
I agree with you. And I just went zipping back to something that happened. I was working in an IT department, and my boss tapped me and one other person to go through this customer service training. And two things. First of all, to bring information back. Second thing was to assess the training, so whether more people in the organization should take it or not. And it was brilliant. It was a customer service training specific to IT. It was designed for IT. So we go through this, and I come back, and I'm very positive about it. And a little while later on, the CIO walks into my office and says, so you like that training? And I say, yeah, it's great. It's really, really worthwhile. Okay, well, I'm going to have the entire department go through that training. And I was like, yeah, perfect. So he announces this initiative and schedules the trainers to come in and do the thing and so forth. And I'm walking down the hall, and I make a right turn, and I go down the hall where all the programmers live. And one of the programmers walked out of her office as I was going by, and she looks at me and she goes, "What's with the customer service training?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, we're all going to do it. And she said, I don't have customers.
Oh.
And I just backed up a couple of steps and I said, Janet, didn't you design the database that does blah, blah, blah? And she said, yeah, that's one of mine. And I said, who uses that? And she said, well, I think the service. Oh, it's like, bing, the light bulb went on. And I said, right, I'm your customer. So it's a fascinating world. Yes, customer service is not to be neglected. It's being talked about less now because customer experience is the big thing.
Right. Yeah.
But hey,
yeah. I'm surprised you didn't finish that story with "I'm your customer, and trust me, you need the training."
Yeah. Yes,
that probably wouldn't have gone over very well.
Yes.
No, yeah, we have a lot of.
I stopped.
You stopped. You know what? You have grown.
Yeah. No.
So many heroes.
Is if you had to define a hero that you think people should know about, somebody that they could learn from or be inspired by, who would that be? Who do you want to gift us with?
So many people. Holy cow.
Want to send us an email list?
Man. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. I mentioned one of them previously, Margaret Hamilton from the Apollo program. And I also mentioned in that keynote, the Women of Hidden Figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those computers that were just phenomenal in that program. So there's lots of unsung heroes out there. And I think that we don't know their names a lot of the times. Had an HR director some years ago ask me, she's one of my heroes, by the way, Joanne Harris. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
She said, is the CEO here today? And I said, geez, I don't know. I haven't seen him. And she said, is Joel here? And Joel was the guy that picked up the trash. And I said, yeah, Joel's here. I know Joel's here because the trash got picked up. Right? Those people are my heroes. They're the people who get the work done. And that's one of the things that I focus on, those line workers that accomplish the work. And one of my little mantras as I go through my business life is ask the people who do the work. Wonderful. They understand it better than anybody. And they can inform your decisions better than anybody. Yeah. And some organizations get that and some people don't.
Yeah. And let's hear what's most important.
I'm actually going to be bold and suggest that might be one of the initiatives that we should be paying attention to in our own personal and business life is looking for and speaking with the people who do the work. Mm-hmm. You feel that would be impactful and change things if more people did that?
I think it has the potential to be huge. You don't get paid to think.
Right.
Just do it. That's what they said. That's what they get. Right?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
That drives me crazy. One of my things, so I love to have custom pieces on all of my projects, whether it's a custom piece of furniture or custom wall graphic or something like that. I might have an overall idea of what I want it to look like. I would never tell anyone the best way to build it. I want the people who know and do this every single day to tell me the best way. And it kind of drives people a little bit. It kind of drives the owner a little bit nuts because they're like, well, this is what we hired you for. I go, no, you hired me to come up with a design and a concept, and that's what I'm giving you. I go, but those people know how to build it way better than I do. They're going to implement our meeting of the minds. I think that's Fantastic. The best way to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Two quick notes on that. One of the people I've always admired, and I worked, full disclosure, I did a consulting work for Apple with Apple for a number of years. Steve Jobs, unbelievable guy. Some very, very strange sides to Steve, but Steve was incredible. The most persuasive human being I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely. But one of the things that he said was that we don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. we hire smart people to tell us what we should do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was echoed by a friend of mine who was CEO, chairman, and president of a Fortune 100 corporation, held those 3 jobs simultaneously over a period of about 20 years. And I said, so what was the secret, Ed? What's the deal? And he said, you hire smart people, you listen to what they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important, is to pay attention. And smart people are people who know their jobs. Doesn't mean you have to have a big advanced degree. It's the guy putting the light pole in that's put in 400 light poles this summer and knows exactly how to do it and is telling this is not the right spot. Listen to that person, it's important.
Right.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Oh, and I think I'm going to have to share those last few minutes with a few people. Well, the whole video, but also the last few minutes.
I know. Have fun editing this one, Jody.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm sorry.
No, because it was all so fascinating. Like the first half of it, I feel like my mind was just blown. I'm like, wait, we're doing what?
This has been Subject to Change, a sustainability podcast.
Yeah.
Roy, thank you so much for your time and your brain, which is a data collection portal that astounds me every single conversation we have. I am amazed by how much you have and how much you're able to find. Yeah. It's a great processing system you've got there.
A friend of mine says, how do you get this stuff in your head so quick? And I said, it's all in RAM, baby. It's all in RAM. Loads up in the morning, and that's it.
That's good. This has been very gracious. I'm sorry I have to run away. I would talk longer,
I actually have to jump into another meeting. So
boy. Okay. We gotta go. We all have to go. Thank you so much, Roy.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Thank you for asking. I enjoyed it immensely. Thanks.
Yeah.
And great to see you and great to meet you, Lauren.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
And we'll fill you in when we post it so that you can watch it and then say, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah, I already know.
All right.
Perfect.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.